Well, we are back to working on the trunk again with the leak situation. It appears that the dealership, when they sold the vehicle to us, had patched the bottom of the trunk up with a bunch of patches that we didn't know about when we purchased the vehicle, that you can see right there in the picture. And those patches have cracked, and now the water is splashing up into the tire holder in the trunk where the spare tire goes. I got ahead of myself with this part. I started to patch it up with some seam sealer from Eastwood. You can see the can in the background. I saw their YouTube channel and thought I would try out their product and see how it works. But I didn't take the time to drain the tire holder out of all the water that was built up in it before I started this, so it didn't adhere. And later in the video you'll see that I did it later the right way by draining all the water out. I got a little too anxious and started working on this part, and I'm also assessing to see where the cracks are and where the holes are. I found 3 holes altogether underneath the car, and I don't know what they used for patches on here. I'm not familiar with that material. I know it's not fiberglass, and if this repair job doesn't hold up, that's another option I'm considering, because I don't have any way to weld anything right now, so the only other thing I'd come up with would be fiberglass patches on it. I'm putting this material on pretty thick because I feel like the thicker the better. So this ends out getting 2 coats by the time I'm done with it. The part that I'm doing now in the video is the worst part. It's the part where the biggest hole was that leaked like a sieve, and there are patches that the dealership didn't hold. I'm also getting all of the edging on where these tape patches are underneath, just in case it tries to pull apart from the metal on the trunk, or over time water seeps along that edge. So I'm putting a coat of the seam sealer on the edge part of some of the tape where I think that it may come loose or have the potential to come loose and get water slipped up underneath the tape, just in case, because it's a really pain in the rear end to try and jack this car up and crawl underneath it every time you have leaks all the time. And it's like the old saying, there's no work like repair work. Or rework, I guess they say. In this spot, wherever the arrow shows up, you'll see a plug that they had put in to either they had put it in or it was in there already, but where it's pointing to is where the water is coming up into the trunk of the car on that end. And then on the opposite end of that yellow arrow is another plug that's the same kind, and that's where the other leak is. So I don't know if, because this used to be a rental vehicle before we bought it. That was the only, the dealership was the only other owners. So I don't know if somebody hit some rocks and the rocks came up underneath the car and punched a bunch of holes in this, or if they backed into one of those parking lot bumpers and cracked it in several places, or what caused this to happen. There's no other place on the car that has any leaks other than this area. And then the carpet gets wet from all of that, and it soaks into it and goes up and over and into where the jack stand is for jacking the car up on the other side where it's stored at, and then it dumps the water down into that part too. And I looked to see if there was leaks there, and I couldn't find any underneath the car where the jack goes. So now, after getting the water out, I crawl back underneath again, and now it's a lot better applying this seam sealer. And I don't have the same kind of material they did for patching, so all I have is some really strong tape, that Gorilla tape that you use for your bumpers and stuff outside your car when they're, or if you have a tail light that's busted, that kind of tape. And so that's what I have on hand, and here I'm getting the area cleaned up so that that tape will stick. And the irony is, I went and got that rag wet at the faucet, and I still had water in the trunk I could have got it wet with. And then here I'm drying that stuff off that I just applied earlier. Try and get a little bit of a crust on it for drying, and then later I'll put the tape over the top. Now I'm going to start putting the seam sealer around the edging of the tape to try and see if I can keep it from peeling back up over time and pulling off of the underneath the car. I didn't notice there's a little spot right where my hand is, right there just above it, that probably needs to be sealed too, so I may have to crawl back under at a future time. You can just barely see it where their old covering had started to pull apart and create a hole. So now I'm just going to go around all this spots. This is the worst hole here, and the only reason why I'm doing it this way. The other ones didn't appear to be as bad, so I didn't have to put tape and stuff around those holes. The seam sealer would seal it up pretty good. But I'm just lathering this down with thick coating on the edges of that tape, anywhere I can find an edge to help hold it down. It's gonna rain again here in California on Thursday after I get done doing this, so maybe we'll see how well it holds out after the rain on Thursday and check the trunk, see if it gets wet again. I also have to do some bushings on this side of the car in the front passenger. The old ones are all cracked and torn to pieces, and I don't have a bushing removal tool. I ordered one on eBay, but I don't know if I got the right size, so I'll have to either find out or improvise, which is going to be a pain, but it's either do it this way or pay $145 for the part plus another batch for the labor and be just over $200 versus $42 just to do the bushings myself and have my poor back suffer the consequences. Appreciate everybody making it this far in the video. I don't know, I wouldn't call this a how-to, I just call this entertainment, because I got primitive materials I'm working with and I don't have a garage or anything, so this is more of an entertainment video than anything, or laughs and giggles for some, who knows. But thanks for making it this far, and maybe if it works then I'll let you know.